Some cuckoos on Death Mountain. Or Dark Death Mountain.
And we're off. Nothing much in the house in the sanctuary.
It is good that we did get to see both. We saw 2 runners start in one location, 2 in the other. We see a fireball standing in the middle of the Hyrule Castle garden, which sort of prevented...
And a fish.
Yep, that fish was flopping around. And we're finding a big 20 as the chest item out of the uncle's room in the escape.
And Tairr takes a hit.
And another big 20 off the uncle, but yeah, Tairr died, and that sort of shows just how lethal this Enemizer mode can be.
Yeah. I can't get over these fish.
I believe I just saw an Armos Knight, or not an Armos Knight, a Skeleton Knight drop down just outside of Link's house. And somebody's entered into Skull Woods and seen some of the rollers from Turtle Rock. So there are a lot of high damage mobs around Hyrule that the runners are going to have to worry about, especially early on as they wait to acquire some gear and get stronger.
Indeed. Looks like just bombs at the race.
Half Magic was on the library bookshelf, and there's a piece of heart in the usual magic mushroom location.
Oh, we have a map check.
Unfortunately, that was a very quick map check, so I did not catch what was there. But in Kakariko Village now, things seem a little bit safer, except for the chicken coop, where there are a couple of enemies laying around.
Yeah, couch cash.
Yep, just cash for their effort.
Ninban grabbing some bombs. Very, very important early game.
One thing we saw that you don't normally see in a randomizer is signumbs turning in a fish to the bottle vendor to get a couple of drops.
Power glove.
He gets his glove out of Blind's hut.
Yep. Still nothing to use against enemies, really, other than, I guess, picking up the boulders.
That, in addition to bombs, are all they've really got right now to try to progress through and kill things in the places they have to go. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone does go to Mini Moldorm Cave soon and try to use those bombs to take out the enemies for 5 items.
Flippers at the race game.
Yep, Solski picks up their slippers.
Flippy floppies. And
And
boots.
Signums finds the boots, and so
Along
does
with
Tairr at
Tairr.
the same time in the back of the Kakariko well. Also a bottle with magic potion.
That speeds things up quite a bit. And then Van won't be too far behind, getting those boots.
Oh, and Signums finds the moon pearl off the bottle vendor. And I think Solski now has bombs and is going to go ahead and head to the well as well, so they should all have boots really soon.
Good times. And we got Moon Pearl already.
Yep, so we're only an item away from being able to go into the Dark World at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The runners only need to find either the hammer or the Titan's mitts.
They'll be on the pyramid.
That's what we'll have to hope for if we're still hoping for a Force Aga 1 in chat. One of those items is going to have to be there and block progress to another item.
That is usually how these things go.
And we see Ninban going into the back of Escape. First time this is checked, and oh my goodness.
That looks fun.
With the boots, he dashed out. Pretty unscathed, though, but doesn't find much for their trouble down there.
No, not too much.
The sick kid has a 3-pack of bombs, so we're probably not going to find very much more in Kakariko Village at this point.
No, they'll have to go to Moldorm Cave.
Yep, I wouldn't be surprised to see somebody eventually start heading to that southern portion of the map and clear out all the item locations down there. Solski did opt to go back and get that half magic by bunking off of the library bookshelf, and Tairr grabs his flippers.
Yep, it's definitely a good move to have half magic.
Yeah, I imagine that'll be very helpful in this run.
Yes. Having the lack of reusable items, it's good to have the magic.
Bonk Rocks leads to a 20 rupees for Solski. Probably not what they were hoping to find there. To this point, though, everyone has sort of gravitated to the same areas, starting in Kakariko Village and checking the areas around Sanctuary, so it'll be interesting to see who makes that play to go south first. But Solski is going to check what's behind the Lumberjack's house for us.
I think we already had a quick check of that. I think it was just a red.
So Ninban also opting to get that half magic, so all of the runners decided to go back and get that, and there's not really much reason to skip it. It will probably end up saving them much more time than it costs to get the boots in Kakariko and go back down there and grab it. Signumbs is the first heading to the southern part of Hyrule, going to drain the swamp or drain the dam and check for those 2 items. But Ninban grabs the flippers while Signumbs finds a heart piece in the dam chest. Ninban is now also working their way to the southern Hyrule section. There's a blue potion bottle sitting in the drain dam. So that's another helpful item to find, even though they've already had their bottles, since they are still working with pretty low health and not much in the way of defense. This mini Moldorm cave is a little interesting, with 2 mini Moldorms and a mini Helmosaur. And Signums gets all of them down after using multiple bombs. I'm sure he's not thrilled to lose out on having some of those, but gets some back from a chest and some more. That said, there were not many items inside of that Moldorm cave. So each of these racers is still looking for that next progression item to sort of push them ahead and advance what they can do.
What do you think that item's gonna be?
If I had to guess, I think somebody will find the hammer pretty soon.
Still bombs. Bombs in Ice Rod Cave.
Ninban takes a death trying to get to some items up in the eastern side of Hyrule. He was walking back from Ice Rod Cave, so I don't think he'll have lost too much unless he was hoping to flippers over to King Zora.
Who knew the mimics could walk on water? And the cuckoos.
Having to avoid that mimic while swimming seems like it would be not too enjoyable. But we're going to see what the hobo has, and it's just a piece of heart.
Just a little bit of love.
So outside of moving over toward Eastern Palace or going to check King Zora, there aren't a whole lot of places left for any of the racers to check that we haven't seen on stream yet.
No, I think those are the only places left now.
There is the option of trying to ascend Death Mountain without the lamp, but I'm not sure how eager the runners will be to do that with the Enemizer mode turned on.
True.
Plus, it seems like most people try to avoid sequence breaks when they can nowadays.
Yeah, they don't seem to pay out all that much. It's better to follow the logic.
So we did see Signum head to King Zora, but die, and Ninban also takes a death trying to get into that fairy cave right outside of King Zora's domain. So that seems like a particularly lethal area for them to have to go to for what may potentially be the next item they need to actually progress.
Did you happen to see what enemies are around there?
I believe it was an Octorok.
Not as trolly as it could be.
And it's sniped with a high damage ball.
Waterfall Cave doesn't seem to have much either.
So King Zora or the Zora Ledge may have our answer, and Ninban dies again. These Octoroks are really going to cause trouble. Oh, Solski also dying on his way to King Zora.
Well, they're skeletons, so those things are brutal.
Yep, this is looking like a pretty lethal area for them to have to go to find the progression item, so perhaps the answer isn't there, but Signum sees the Titan's mitts on the Zora Ledge. So once he picks that up, we will have Dark World access, so this was where they needed to go. And we may just see a spree of deaths as they try to head over there. It's like Solski opting to ignore the Zora area for a while and check out what's behind Sahasrahla. This could pay off, but it seems likely those mitts are really what they need to move on.
It's nothing. Looks like they have to try and get themselves through this waterfall.
Yep, it seems likely. There are a few items, and Solski died, so maybe they won't be going to Eastern Palace. There are a couple of accessible items there, but... Oh, and there's blue mail off of King's Aura as well, so Tairr will be glad to see that to improve his defense.
Yep.
The bigger question is, what's Solski going to do? Decide to go back to Eastern Palace, or Zora, or something else entirely? It looks like they're approaching the Zora portal from a different direction than you might normally see walking east from Link's house. But right now, since Tairr got through that sort of mini gauntlet, no weapons that made up the Zora's domain, Tairr takes a little bit of a lead.
Actually, he got the Titan mitts.
Yep, Titan Mitt and the blue mail definitely giving Tairr an edge over everyone else right now until they manage to work their way through. But signumbs gets to the blue mail upgrade off of King Zora, and Ninban isn't that far behind. So Ninban grabs their blue mail from King Zora and will presumably go grab those Titan mitts now. So now each of these players has to make a decision if they're going to go into the Dark World or go ahead and check out Eastern Palace. And we actually see Tairr head east.
Oh, he's going to check out King's Tomb.
Looks like Signumbs is going to do the same as well. I'd be surprised if they do decide to go play out through Eastern Palace for those items. But we don't know yet. Tairr turns back west, so I think we can safely assume Tairr will be the first racer to get to the Dark World.
Yeah, it's probably a good move because there are a lot of chests in Thieves Town.
That plus the caves south of the bomb shop where there are 5 items available. An item once known as the Hype Cave, although I don't think most people find it to be very hype anymore.
I think the
Tairr
hype
decides to head into Skull Woods.
Fire Krillin, this is not the tournament, this is our daily races.
For the month of December, there are actually 3 races daily of various modes. One which would be an open mode race, one that's a key sanity, and one that is voted on by the subscribers to the speed gaming channels. And this is what they selected for today. So right now, it doesn't look like Skullwoods is paying off too much, but Tairr's going to try to hover that gap. He eventually bomb jumps through the chest.
So it looks like we've got a green pendant on Eastern, a regular pendant on Hera, and a red crystal on our desert. I haven't seen if there's a map check yet for the Dark World.
We have our map check now, and we see the red crystal, or the red pendant, rather, is at Palace of Darkness, and a red crystal is at Swamp Palace.
That is what I saw too, yep. Turtle Rock required.
So that may not be the thing runners want to see with this much required. Just to get around the overworld and try not to die, but they may also find a lot of items there once they're able to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You see Ninban did opt to go into Eastern Palace rather than follow the others into the Dark World in Skullwoods. Skullwoods does look particularly tough with these enemies in terms of how much damage they're doing, so Ninban might have a slight edge. It doesn't look like he's encountered anything quite so lethal yet. But on the other hand, he's only found a bomb upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
And he runs out of pots in that Stalfos room and is going to have to use a bomb. And we have Signums heading to the village of Outcasts now after finding nothing of value in Skull Woods. The house only has a piece of heart. And we're going to see what's in this big chest pretty early because Ninban did find that on his way down. It's the silver arrows.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. That's awesome. Now we just need a bow to actually use them.
The bow could actually end up being fairly late in the game, including in Ganon's Tower, I think, since Palace of Darkness and Eastern Palace are both pendant dungeons. So even though they have that high silver arrow damage available to them, they may never get the chance to use it until the Ganon fight.
That'd be awful. And we've got Tairr going into Thieves' Town.
The first to enter, there's 4 chests. We see Ninban trying to navigate that dark room in Eastern Palace and struggling, manages to get out with just half a heart. But only pulling out 20 rupees out of that final chest. So Eastern Palace was not the play to make, it looks like. And Solski's still trying to get that statue pulled in Skull Woods.
I think Wallmaster is probably my least favorite.
I've heard that from a lot of people recently, that Wallmasters are just their least favorite enemy in the game, and something about them just totally puts them off. Tairr finds the Cane of Birna in the last of the 4 chests at the start of Blind.
Both canes.
So they've got both canes available to them now, both of which can be used to kill Blind in addition to the, well, that would be the first items they got that would allow them to finish this dungeon. Without the hammer, though, they're not going to be able to check that big chest. They're in Thieves' Town.
Yeah. So there's a question here in Twitch chat asking what is going on with these enemies. It's randomized enemies, so you can find any enemies anywhere in this game.
So this looks like a very rough room Tairr has just stumbled into past that hallway. Trying to flip that switch and simultaneously dodge that roller. Manages to get through, but with only 1 heart. And still a few rooms to navigate through before they can bomb open that floor to open up the blind fight. And Tairr has to get past a thief and a mini Helmasaur to get that last item, where he finds a heart. Flips the cane of Birna back on to get out of that room. Ninban's the last of our racers to head into Skullwoods, where they're only going to find some health upgrades.
Health upgrades can be very helpful in a game such as this when there is no sword and no one really has much in terms of the actual being able to hit. Hammer would definitely be helpful.
Yep, Tairr's only option for finishing blind if they decide to continue in there after that death is that Cane of Birna, but with no magic they decide to back out and head to go check that bombable hut in the Village of Outcasts. Where they only find 20 rupees. We'll watch and see if Signumbs is able to navigate through this very tough Thieves' Town, but gets caught by a crow heading to the room that leads to the basement. Signumbs also deciding not to finish the rest of this dungeon yet, probably because they don't have the hammer and they took that death, figuring it wouldn't be worth it to possibly triple dip inside of Thieves' Town. It seems like a good decision. Signumbs and Tairr heading over to do digging game at roughly the same time, where they find a 3-pack of bombs on the first dig.
Bombs everywhere this seed.
It looks like Tairr is heading back to grab the Breadsmith frog and is going to take it around the Dark World, while Signumbs decides to leave the frog there. It finds a bomb upgrade sitting in the Dark World Grove. So Signumbs is going to be the first to check that cave south of the bomb shop, also known as the Hype Cave. 5 items in here, we'll see if there's anything good.
See if there's still room for some hype here.
Well, Signumbs finds the flute, that's a pretty good item.
There's a bow. There's a bow. Silvers are now usable.
They are, but Signumbs and Tairr still need to head into Eastern Palace to be able to get those.
That's probably where they're heading now.
Yeah, that seems to be the last option available to them if they don't decide to go back in and try to finish blind. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them pick up those silvers and kill Armos, but Tairr will have to go back to Kakariko first to drop off that blacksmith. And activate the flute, of course. So we see Solski actually did manage to make it to the basement of Thieves' Town, so we will find out something we didn't before.
Just a compass. But blind might still have something.
That's what Solski will be hoping for at this point, that blind drops something that does push them ahead, and if blind does, then that would give Solski a little bit of an advantage since everyone else has backed out of Thieves' Town at this point, except for Ninban, who is possibly going in soon. But with half magic and that Cane of Birna, I assume Solski will have no problem taking blind out here.
What's the hit rate of the cane?
I'm not sure how often it inflicts damage, but it's still only 3 hits of the Cane of Birna, similar to the sword or any other weapon. And using about 3/4 of their magic, Solski does take out Blind, but only gets a heart and a crystal for their efforts.
Crystal is still good. I guess they'll have to go back in and grab the big chest.
I believe they actually did not get the map yet, so I think that's everything out of there.
Ah.
But I may be mistaken. Signumbs is heading down to Zelda's jail cell, where he will not find Zelda, but will possibly find some items. And Tairr decided to flee to Misery Mire, where they find the Quake Medallion in the Mire shed.
It's, looks like it's Quake. Quake required for, Mire.
So with Quake required from Mire, Tairr actually could have gone into there right now.
Nothing
Since
really.
They have the boots and can bonk over. But with only 2 items available in Misery Mire, I guess Tairr decided now would not be the time to check that out. Oh, not without Hammer because they can't use the medallion, it sounds like.
Ah, so that's how that works then.
And somebody else says Hammer not needed for dungeon entry medallions, only tablets. Which is what I sort of recalled. Tairr finds the powder sitting on top of Spectacle Rock. So if that's the case, I wonder if it's the case that Tairr just didn't know that they wouldn't be able to use the medallion without the sword and without the hammer.
I don't know. I think maybe they were gonna come back when better equipped. Mire is a very, very hard dungeon. I missed everybody getting the mushroom in Thieves Town.
Yep, but it doesn't seem like anyone's in a particular hurry to head over to the Witch's Hut in the northeast corner of Hyrule, particularly since everyone's already done King Zora and nobody has the mirror yet to couple that up with a couple of other locations.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be last resort.
But with that said, they do have the flute, so it wouldn't take that long to fly over there. Somebody did check the shroom, and I guess we missed it for 5 rupees. Solski and Signumbs activating their flute at the same time. Tairr finding out how rough Hyrule Castle is right now, managing to get down to the basement with 2.5 hearts. It looks like Ninban is going to make the effort to go ahead and finish Thieves Town right now. Has 2 hearts after that drop, and not very much magic left. But they should still have a potion to restore magic if they manage to get the blind.
Agonized Cave has had a piece of heart.
So at this point, they are starting to sort of run out of locations that they can go to. So the play might have been, after all, to go to Eastern Palace and get that green pendant that's there, and take that to Sahasrahla, in addition to the silver arrows.
Well, at this point, they could have gone up to a little bit of Death Mountain. Oh, I guess not without the hammer or the hookshot either.
Yeah, without the hookshot, I think the powder on Spectacle Rock was sort of the only thing we learned. But Solski picks up their Quake as well.
Oh, still not going to go into Meyer.
Yep, Solski also opting to not go in there, and Signums is now heading to Eastern Palace like we just assumed he had to. Ninban does manage to get the kill on Blind and get that heart container and their first crystal. So the question came up again, can the runners enter Misery Mire yet? And the answer is yes, they have the Quake Medallion they need to get in, and you do not need the hammer or sword to use the medallion in this swordless mode. But we now see Tairr navigating Dark Room. I did forget, none of the runners have found the lamp yet, which means the green pendant is probably still blocked by something else. So potentially the lamp is in Misery Mire, or some other item is in Misery Mire that would open up the rest of the game.
It's looking that way.
Now there could still be some progression item inside of Eastern Palace, but at that point they would be breaking the logic of the seed since they've not found that lamp yet. So it'll be interesting to see if this pays off, if Signums does decide to finish Eastern Palace since they have the bow. But Tairr now has their silver arrows, which should make things considerably easy, or should have their silver arrows. Unless they opted to skip the big chest. Signum's actually dying in a dark room on their way in. Looks like Tairr is actually going to go ahead and dive back in there even without that lamp. One thing I'm actually unsure of is if they're able to enter Ice Palace without Bombos or Fire Rod if that first enemy gets swapped, but I can imagine most players are going to choose not to do that because without the Fire Rod or Bombos, they still have no way of finishing Cold Stare.
That very first monster. Oh, that very first monster might not even be there, that's right. So they could potentially go into Ice Palace, you're right.
I'm going to assume nobody is going to try to make that play, though. I don't think the Freezor does get swapped.
Yeah, it looks like someone just said that in chat.
So it looks like everyone did decide Eastern Palace was the place to go to. Despite having that access to Misery Mire, even though they don't have the Cane of Samaria. So maybe that was part of the reluctance in not going in there.
It very well could be.
So Tairr now picks up their silvers along with Signums. and is going to head to that dark room in Eastern Palace and hopefully navigate it, and we'll hopefully see somebody finish and get the green pendant and figure out what Sahasrara is hiding soon. But right now, it seems like the seed is playing really linearly, don't you think, B?
A little bit, yeah. Not a whole lot of divergence, for sure.
It seems like there's definitely been opportunities, but nobody's really opting to take them without anyone going into Misery Mire. For anyone who hasn't seen before, they can go into Misery Mire because they have that Quake Medallion, and you actually do not need the hook shot to cross the gap that is there. Instead, you can bonk off of one of the blocks that is in that room using the boots to cross the first gap. It looks like Signum's deciding not to finish the Green Pendant dungeon, but Tairr is going to.
With Brian's cane there, it's definitely gonna make good work.
It seems like Tairr is having a hard time finding that pot in that dark room, but manages to get through and get out. Signums is going to go try to find the old man without the lamp and Enemizer, with not very much magic to try to use invincibility. Ninban grabs their Quake Medallion out of the shed, and we'll see if they decide that it's time to go in. They may have, because they just selected it.
This might pay off. There's a magic refilled for Tairr.
If I remember, Ninban was actually the first to go into Eastern Palace and get those silvers, which may have informed their decision in going into Mire the moment it opened. Tairr kills the Armos Knights and gets that last item that had to drop the map, but grabs the green pendant and is now right next to Sahasrara's hut to go see what that'll get.
See if it pays out.
It looks like Signums may have also decided that it is time to head toward Mire. Tairr only getting a piece of heart for having cleared that dungeon, so unless the Master Sword pedestal is required, finishing that may have been a waste of time.
Pedestal required. We've been waiting for this for days.
Because of that crystal turtle rock, we already know for a fact that this could be pedestal required, simply because the ice rod could be there. We know the fire rod cannot be, though, and we also know that the hammer cannot be. So Signum is actually opting not to head into Misery Mire. I'm not sure where exactly they are planning to go at this point.
Maybe there were a few checks. I'm not sure if they did the frog, our good friend Jeremiah.
I take that back. The fire rod could be on the pedestal. I misread the pendants and crystal list because it looks like Turtle Rock and Skullwoods are both crystal dungeons. Solski manages that dark escape and gets the Ether Medallion.
Old Man Gary, helping us out a little bit. Master Shovel.
So Solski may now be heading into Mire, having sort of exhausted all the other options, it seems, at this point.
Other than Agnes Cave.
For the discussion ongoing, Hammer cannot be on the pedestal because Palace of Darkness is a pendant dungeon. And it's impossible to get to the Palace of Darkness boss without the hammer. So we have Ninban backing out of Misery Mire. I think they obtained everything they could without a fire source at the moment, so they are going to have to search for another location. Solski is, I believe, the first to grab that purple lunchbox, which may be the actual answer at this point, since Misery Mire did not have what they needed.
This is definitely becoming quite a tricky little seed here.
This actually was an option available to most of these runners quite a while ago. And Solski finds the mirror, so indeed a progression item.
Yes, indeed. That at least gets them to check Tower of Hera.
Hammer opens up, the mirror opens up quite a few locations, I believe, because they can also navigate around and get to Swamp Palace, where they'd be able to check one chest without the hammer. So that would be sort of the trolliest option available to them at this point. Tairr is taking that hammer straight to the checkerboard cave in the southwest area.
The hammer or the mirror?
The mirror was in the purple box. I don't think they found the hammer yet. Solski instead taking that mirror straight up to the Tower of Hera.
Probably a good play on this part.
Well, they see the map first, and with still no fire source, that leaves them one chest to find the big key. Otherwise, they'll have to leave. But with that hammer, they can also head toward Eastern Death Mountain. Or without the hammer, I'm sorry. They cannot head there, but they do find the big key and can advance a little further into Tower of Hera.
Someone in chat is asking about the troll dorms being damaged with silvers. I know I once tried to fire some arrows off and they did not work, so Burnham might still work.
So we actually see signumbs heading into Palace of Darkness, which it's probably a reasonable place to go. They can get to several items right now. Everything, I think, except for the boss item, in fact. So with 5 items to be found, this may actually be a good decision. Though with no lamp still, several of those items are sort of blocked by not having vision.
Oh, the troll crow.
So Signum's found that key in the first chest in Palace of Darkness, so we'll probably choose to go through the middle door rather than head down to the bow section. Since if they go the bow direction, they will be stopped once they get to the hammer bags. Oh, and there's the hammer in the Tairr chest.
So Hera was definitely a good payout. Sometimes you gotta follow the little breadcrumb trail.
Yep. Solski opting to go ahead and mirror out and head toward East Death Mountain, but not before hammering the tower first.
Oh, good plan. Good plan, Solski. Heading in to check the other side of the caves. So Tairr has decided to go into Tower of Hera, so they will have their hammer pretty soon.
So I think one interesting thing to ask now is whether Tairr will decide that he should go ahead and kill Moldorm with that hammer without knowing what's on the Master Sword pedestal yet.
Oh man, that's a tough one. I've seen a couple of his runs before, so I want to make a guess that he might just go after Trolldorm.
I don't think it adds too much time. It would still be time wasted if it ends up not being needed in the end, but it could also potentially save quite the double dip in which somebody has to climb back up Death Mountain again to get that pendant, to then get something like the Ice Rod or the Cane, which they would need to finish off Turtle Rock.
Yeah, there's something like 8 floors to the tower, so it'd be best to get it done and over with.
Signum's walking back out after getting locked in by that hammer peg, as they haven't turned in the purple chest to find the mirror yet.
Oh, that's too bad. That really makes Palace of Darkness quite the runaround.
Solski having to wait for these little shadow fiends to sort of stop and spawn before she can go. Grabs a heart though, and a bomb upgrade.
Ooh, there's the cane. Yes. Hype for second hype cave.
So that does make Misery Mire fully completable now. But Solski's going to go ahead and check the Dark World caves as well.
Good plan, good plan. Making easy work of those blocks using the mirror.
At this point, there are not a lot of items left needed. Oh, Solski finds the lamp inside of that Super Bunny cave. So that was actually a pretty long logic chain required to get to that lamp. To open up some of these other pendant dungeons where the silver arrows and other items were.
So that was Ether for Turtle Rock. So
with that knowledge, the only thing Solski needs at this point is the hook shot, the fire rod, and the ice rod. So still a good handful of items. But there are several more places for Solski to check at this point. Mostly as a result of finding that hammer, the item that opens up the most locations in the game for exploration. So it's decision time now. They can finish Misery Mire. They can also finish Swamp Palace.
Well, with Misery Mire being a crystal, if it was me, I'd definitely do it.
Swamp Palace is also a crystal, I believe, and that one is for a 5 and 6 crystal along with Desert Palace, which Solski is choosing to do now. Looks like Signumbs found a rod in one of those dark rooms. We'll have to wait for a pause to see because it was pretty blurry.
Where was the dark room?
Palace of Darkness.
Okay.
So Tairr is also working their way up Death Mountain, gets the lamp.
Mm-hmm.
Signum is going to go check Catfish, I believe the first check.
Got the boomerang. Tairr is gonna hover. Oh.
With that mirror, we can check a few more locations that we haven't before. So we're now seeing the Graveyard Ledge being checked. Where there's just an arrow upgrade, it looks like, or maybe that was 5 arrows. Tairr is still trying to hover across that hookshot cave gap, decides to back out. Solski makes some quick work of the mini Helmosaurs with those silver arrows, trying to work their way over to Moldorm, which they can finish since they found that lamp on Death Mountain. Tairr decides to head into the Spike Cave.
So able to do a check on there.
Just finds arrows. Solski's going to head into that Manmolus fight where the silver arrows will one-shot each of them, so we may see a 1 cycle here.
Everything aligns, and they do.
So that rod was indeed the fire rod, I believe, and Signum's deciding to take that into Skull Woods.
Good play, good play.
And try to finish that up. So we've seen 2 pretty major items inside of Pendant Dungeon so far, or 3 rather, since the silver arrows also sort of fit in that category. But Tower of Harrow was required to get the hammer. Palace of Darkness is going to be required to get that fire rod. And Eastern Palace had the silver arrows, which will help tremendously for the rest of the game. But the question there is, should the runners have decided to finish each of those pendant dungeons? And in some cases it wasn't possible, because Signum still hasn't gotten her from Tower of Hera. But
They still got lots of options.
Yeah, I can't imagine any of them is banking on that pedestal play quite yet, especially since they're not clearing those bosses out.
Looks like chat is starting to say that the pedestal hype is dying off.
Since we know as commentators where the fire rod is, we know that the only items left to be obtained there are, I believe, the ice rod and hook shot, since Swamp Palace is a crystal and not a pendant. Signums gets grabbed by that wall master while working their way through Skull Woods. We see Tairr also decide to follow Solski into Misery Mire. Solski finds the fire shield in that first chest there in Misery Mire, which was already obtained elsewhere.
Shield upgrades are pretty helpful in a like this.
And I do not envy having to move through that spike room in Misery Mire with enemies that are going to aggressively chase like that, since they're usually fairly passive. One other suggestion coming from chat is that the book could be on the pedestal, which is absolutely the case, and one of those other items could then wind up being on one of the tablets.
That is a possibility. Someone is asking about Ice Rod not being required because it's Enemizer. The bosses are still in the right locations, so you're still going to see Trinex at Turtle Rock.
There is a variation of Enemizer in which you can turn on the option to shuffle the bosses around, but for this particular race, that option was not used, so all the bosses are in their default location. So if anyone is looking to try that in the future, then you could absolutely find yourself at the end of a dungeon and not have the items you need. Signum manages to take down Mothula, grabs a crystal. Had to use a magic refill using that fire rod, since they've still not found the hammer to deal damage to Mothula. So Solski managed to go to that left side, or the left side of Misery Mire, which we didn't see before without the fire source, but only finds a green potion for their efforts. But still should be able to go finish Vitreous with that bow and silver arrows.
Should make quick work. And the hammer.
A lot of lag in that Skull Woods room heading to that last chest on the way to the boss, but Signums managed to find the bug net out of that. Somebody asked, without the book, how do you read the pedestal? And the answer is, you read it afterwards, if the book is on the pedestal, because you only need those 3 pendants to pull the item out. You do not have to have the book in your inventory. So Tairr is also going to jump down to that vanilla big key location and find a green potion before heading up to Vitreous, probably. Each of these racers is sort of well enough equipped at this point that I don't suspect they'll have any trouble with any of the remaining bosses. Signumbs went ahead and grabbed the blacksmith frog and is going to hopefully take him right back and get that purple chest to obtain the mirror, because that seems to be the one item that's really holding Signumbs back at this point. Because without it, they'll be unable to get the hammer.
Yes, that is probably the right move. I'm sure they figured that out too.
So the question will be if Signumbs does immediately go back into that dark world and head immediately for that purple chest, but they flute off to buy potions. It looks like Solski's first into that Vitreous fight, making quick work of those little eyes with the silver arrows.
Very powerful.
So with those silver, Solski only needed to shoot each eyeball with an arrow once and the big eyeball of Vitreous twice. And Tairr is right on Solski's heels here. Signumbs is opting to go grab that purple chest right away, so we should see them grab the mirror and start to catch up soon, though I don't think there were many other places for them to check at this point.
Solski's heading into Palace of Darkness, and with the hammer can full clear.
It'll be interesting to see if Solski chooses to do that after they find the fire rod, since that'll put together another piece of the puzzle that they're still missing. But since they have the lamp, they should have a pretty easy time navigating this compared to what Ninban and Signumbs had to go through. Meanwhile, Tairr is closing in on Landmalice over in Desert Palace. And Solski uses that hammer dash to dash right through the end of the cutscene and into Palace of Darkness and beyond. So we're now about an hour and 9 minutes into the race, and we have a pretty good sense of where most everything is, with the exception of that ice rod and hook shot, which are the sort of items chat would have to be hoping are on that Master Sword pedestal to make this a pedestal seed.
The hype is still there.
The unfortunate thing, I think, for these racers right now is that they're really starting to run out of dense dungeons in which they can sort of navigate quickly, because Solski is going to find the fire rod here, but after that, not really have a way to 100% clear Turtle Rock, so if they head up there, they would have to hope that the Ice Rod is in there.
Well, they still have Ice Palace. They'd be able to go all the way through.
I imagine some of these runners are going to want to put off Ice Palace and Swamp until they have those items, so it would be really brutal if the Ice Rod or the Hook Shot is on the left side of Swamp. But as it turned out, some of those longer dungeons were sort of what opened up last. If they're even open at all right now, since Turtle Rock still requires that Ice Rod to fully finish. And Swamp Palace still requires the Hook Shot.
Well, Turtle Rock can still be mostly completed except for Trinix.
It seems like it would probably be a high percentage play, so it would mostly come down to whether or not people are reluctant to head in there without that Ice Rod to finish the dungeon, since it is a crystal. But it could turn out that Ice Rod is on the left side of Swamp, and Hookshot is somewhere inside of Turtle Rock, which would be
probably the most troll. Oh, that was
very annoying.
That was the Ice Rod. Solski just got the Ice Rod in the bottom of Palace of Darkness.
I think that was just
a
little
that's
bit
the
of
fire. That was the fire rod.
Yeah, it's a fire rod.
The dream. My eyes play tricks.
So there is a lot of potential, though, for this to take quite a while to finish still, based on where those last couple of items are.
With the Mirror Shield available now, that makes the bridge in Turtle Rock much easier to get through.
So it looks like Solski thought there for a second about this continuing in there and grabbing that blue pendant, but chooses not to, mirroring back to the light world and floating away. And Tairr actually is opening up Turtle Rock and maybe heading in there. I don't believe Tairr has actually gone and gotten that fire rod and just opened their menu and saw that they have not. So unless there is a key in this first chest on the left side, they're not going to be able to accomplish much here. But this item could be worth checking just to see if there's something valuable to open up something else, like say the swamp. But they only find the big key and have to save and quit or leave the dungeon. And chooses to save and quit. Signumbs and Ninban working on Landless at the same time. So both of them will add another crystal to their collection shortly. Ninban getting that kill. Signum struggling, but managing with those silver arrows to get him down. And it looks like Solski's going to head to Mothula to pick up yet another crystal.
So far it looks like our runners have 2 or 3 crystals.
Solski did not finish Helm of Sword King, but decided to leave Palace of Darkness. Indispensable.
I wonder why.
Since it is, I guess they decided they didn't want to make that investment for the Master Sword play, or the pedestal play rather.
Yeah, I just noticed it's not a required dungeon. Oh, man.
Watching these dark rooms on the Enemizer is a particularly brutal way to navigate these rooms. So my hat's off to anyone who can manage to do these.
Yeah, it definitely takes some skill. It is important to note that the logic allows you to get through rooms without needing to do the sequence breaks, like going through dark rooms. So if you find yourself in a dark room, you've probably missed the light source, the lamp.
We have Zeebs pointing out 75 minutes in with no sword. Indeed. Solski takes out Mothula with the hammer rather than the fire rod. Picks up yet another crystal, but has to jump back in to check that last chest. Signumbs grabs that magic powder off the top of Spectacle Rock and will hopefully go into Tower of Tairr and grab that hammer, and looks like he will. Solski grabbing their net. Tairr checking out the hammer peg cave just to find money. Ninban's dropping in to kill Mothula as well, so people are still acquiring crystals, but at this point it seems like heading to Turtle Rock or Swamp Palace or Ice Palace are sort of the step somebody's going to have to take to continue.
And it looks like Solski's gonna do the Ice Palace play.
I think out of those three I just listed, this would probably be the quickest. And this one is actually fully completable right now as well. So even though racers love to go mode this dungeon where they can use a bomb jump to skip over a huge portion, Solski's probably going to opt to full clear this.
They'd have to go through most of the chests in order to see if any of the progression items that they're missing is there.
Signumbs is heading up a floor to, I guess drop down to grab that hammer. Unable to do the bomb jump, or unwilling. Gets knocked down by the crow before they can get to that chest and snap the hammer, though.
That crow has been trolling all of our runners tonight.
This has been particularly brutal, and even now that it's not likely we're going to see people die anymore, we are still seeing people get knocked all over the place and just slowed down by some of these enemies. So Signum's about to drop back down again and hopefully get the hammer this time, pulling out the Cane of Birna just for safety. But did not set up the tiles on the room below, it looks like, and missed the platform.
Making plans to go off to Troll Dorm. How many racers today? It looks like we have 20 from my count.
Signum's opting to not go kill Moldorm after all. And Solski decided to skip the Ice Palace bomb jump. So they will have to find that key to flip the switch outside of the boss. Or use the Cane of Samaria.
Is that the vanilla big key location?
It's been such a long time since I've played vanilla that I couldn't actually tell you, but Solski, it looks like just
that
found
was Ice Rod.
Ice Rod.
Indeed. Ice Rod and Ice Palace. Now that is a good play, Seed. Good play.
I think with that, Solski takes a pretty big lead among the 4 people we have on our stream right now, because they can now go fully clear Turtle Rock and sort of pray that the hookshot is there to finish Swamp.
Yeah. That would be the most ideal situation at this point.
The only thing to slow them down at this point really would be having to get that Master Sword pedestal pull to get into go mode. Solski bomb jumping back over without the hookshot to navigate to that other chest area, so opening that door with a key. Where they'll find another key to help them get back to where the boss is. Plus 2 chests. Or 3 chests, rather.
Ninban is going into Turtle Rock, it looks like. And with a oh, never mind. They are not.
I don't believe Ninban had the Ether Medallion or the King of Samaria, so they wouldn't have been able to do much of anything. So they're going to come up here and find a little bit of disappointment in that hookshot cave at the one spot they can bunk to.
Indeed. Unless they learn how to hover. Which I know there are a couple of runners that do that. They do the hovers.
I think, unfortunately, there's nothing useful to hover to at that point, since the only thing we're missing now is the hookshot, since we've found where the Ice Rod is in Ice Palace.
Yes. So hookshot is really the only thing left that could possibly be at pedestal.
That is the one item we're waiting for to get into go mode.
There's a strong chance it's in the back of Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see it somewhere in Turtle Rock or in that Mimic Cave, since they now have access to all of those, and that's 6 item locations that Solski can now get to. Looks like signumbs wanted to go into Turtle Rock, but didn't have enough magic to actually cast that ether.
So Chad is talking a little bit about the hover strats. Hover is never needed, but it is helpful because it makes things much, much faster, but it's also very frame perfect. So you need to, each time you move, you have to be able to click the button right at the right moment.
Solski takes down Cold Stare and gets that Bombos medallion, meaning getting that fire rod out of Palace of Darkness was required before anyone could head into Ice Palace. now we'll see where Solski chooses to go, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Turtle Rock be the next location without that hook shot in hand.
They have just Turtle Rock and Swamp Palace. No one has checked Ped yet, because we don't have a book. And Bumper Cave, I have not seen anything. I don't know if any of the runners has checked Bumper Cave yet.
I believe it was checked, but there wasn't anything of value. So with all the overworld exploration that's already been completed, I believe the hook shot is either going to have to be in Turtle Rock or something is going to have to open up something to allow that hook shot to be obtained, like the book. So if we see that book pop up here in Turtle Rock, it might be time to start getting really excited for the chance of a pedestal seed.
Either that, or it is in Swamp Palace, which has happened.
That said, the book wouldn't have actually opened up that hook shot, but it would at least confirm to the runners that they need to go back and finish those pendant dungeons that they neglected.
Or check the pedestal, or check the tablets.
That too. If it's on one of those tablets, then the book could also troll in that way.
You could still see the shovel leading to the grove.
So Solski is going to go a slower way around this room than what you might normally see during one of these randos, when somebody can use the hook shot and pull themselves to the torches. But without that hook shot, navigation through here is just a tiny bit slower.
I have not seen that in quite a while. I probably would have forgotten without the hook shot.
Solski finding 2 small keys as a result of that fire rod, so we should be seeing some items come up pretty soon once they push deeper into Turtle Rock. We're seeing Ninban head into Ice Palace, where they should find their ice rod and probably follow Solski to Turtle Rock, as this has been a fairly linear seed up to this point, really.
Yes, just following the trail.
So one of those items found, and it's only 20 rupees. It'll be interesting to see if anyone feels a little pressured or nervous going through here, to see if they have to get all the way to the laser bridge before they actually find some item of value. Looks like Solski's having a little bit of trouble killing that Wizrobe, thinking it had the key, but the other enemy did.
This mode can be very disorienting if you don't know which enemy to expect. It's gonna hold you.
Solski grabs a second 20 rupee. He's going to now head deeper into Turtle Rock toward that big key chest and check the Mimic Cave, presumably on their way. Outside of that, every runner is in a different dungeon right now, but I would assume the closest on Solski's heels would be Ninban if they get this Ice Rod. Even if they're not quite caught up on crystals, they will be able to hopefully go mode things if they then do head into Turtle Rock and it turns out the hookshot is there. But it seems like there's a whole lot of discussion. Oh, Solski choosing to not go into that Mimic Cave. Now backing out.
Looks like Solski is gonna check.
I wonder if the hope there was to just hopefully grab the hookshot out of that chest and then not have to worry about anything else.
Possibly, yeah.
So possibly save some time.
Just a little piece of heart.
Yep, so Mimic Cave was not the answer for this. So
No hype for Mimic Cave.
we are now waiting for either Trinex or that laser bridge.
Well, no mimics in Mimic Cave, so Tairr has just done Mafula. Signums is trudging through mire. Ninban picking up Ice Rod.
It could be wonderful to see how these racers react, especially Solski here, if, say, the Book of Medora is in that first chest in the laser bridge room, and then the hookshot just winds up being the very last one.
Oh man. The hype, and then the hype dies.
So there's a small key needed to get to Trinex. Solski falls off for the second. Piece of heart. The compass. And the bombs. So we are heading toward Trinex. Who has to drop the map? So with this information, this may in fact be a pedestal seed. The other option is still left side swamp, which I think the runners would probably take before they decide to go and get those pendants.
What a troll seed this is.
I think this is what the chat was hoping to see, though.
Someone thinks that we might see the vanilla hookshot. Well, at this point, Swamp Palace has to have an item of some sort. Either the book, the shovel, or the hookshot that they need. We will shortly be finding out.
I think if the hookshot is on the pedestal, there doesn't necessarily need to be an item in Swamp Palace, and once they go through the left, they would sort of figure that out. That They do indeed need to go back and finish those pendants. Because they already know it can't be at the Pyramid Fairy Cave, since Swamp Palace is a 5 or 6 crystal. I think Solski is opting to go check this Spike Cave first before heading into Swamp Palace, and I can sort of understand that reluctance to head in there.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything there, though. It was checked earlier by Tairr.
Yep. Solski's not going to find their answer in here, so they are going to have to move on to the Swamp Palace and find out whatever is waiting for them on the left side, which could potentially be nothing except the information that they do need to go finish Tower of Hera and Palace of Darkness.
Chat is talking about nobody has gone to actually beat Moldorm yet.
Yep. Every racer decided to opt out of finishing that, and it's not the play I would personally make if I was in that situation, since Moldorm isn't too much extra time, though I think some of the runners did not clear Eastern Palace either, so they were sort of banking on that point in not having to go pull that pedestal. And it looks like Solski is going to comb sort of the rest of these spots that are available to him before opting to go on to that Swamp Palace.
I can't imagine there's too much left.
I think Solski's probably going to check the Peg Cave here. I don't believe they've checked that yet.
Oh yes, yep. They could also check Bumper Cave. Oh no, because they don't have a cave. Never mind.
I know the Peg Cave has already been checked, so I know that they're still going to have to head into that Swamp Palace.
Mm-hmm. Magic Bat. Maybe.
I am pretty sure Magic Bat was checked already, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So on full display tonight really is that sort of reluctance almost every racer has for heading into Swamp, just because it is such a long, slow dungeon to go to that left side of Swamp, and most runners would much rather opt to just go mode that, in which they can skip that entire left side.
Yeah, at the rate it's going though, I think it might just be there.
I can't recall 100% of the overworld locations, but I'm pretty sure we've seen them at this point, so...
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything more that they can check.
We are stuck at this point on it either being that left side Swamp item or entryway to Swamp, or Master Sword.
Or pedestal. Get your ped hype up.
Somebody commenting someone not on stream is probably going to win by a large margin because they would have gambled Swamp or the pedestal, and yeah, I think that's pretty likely that somebody would have chose to do that. I think enough runners at this point in the community have been burned by left side Swamp at this point that they are willing to just make that play once it becomes available to them. Especially since there's still quite a few chests you can get to without the hookshot. You only miss 4, which you could hope have big key, map, and compass rather than anything progression.
What a swordless troll this is.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too excited about having to 100% the game pretty much after all of those early deaths, particularly getting up to Sora's domain where those Titan Smiths were. This has been pretty rough on the runners from start to finish, it seems.
Yeah, Solski's dipping in.
People are saying Solski's finally out of options, but there's still that pedestal option in which they could go back and clear those pendants, but this seems to be the better choice, just in case Hookshot is here, since that's then the last crystal, and Solski can then go on to finish the game.
Indeed. First chest. Alright, there's our compass.
So Tairr heading into that cold stare fight using the fire rod should be able to take this out pretty easily with all that health.
Ran out of magic, however.
Yeah, that makes that a lot more challenging if they get hit by cold stare just a couple more times. But Tairr manages to get that kill with the hammer and collects yet another crystal. And the Bombos medallion. Solski heading to a chest.
Signumbs clearing out ice. Ninban Enemizer.
I can't imagine Solski was thrilled to find those 10 arrows, so now probably a little bit of fatigue setting in as they walk up to that locked door that they don't have the key for since they couldn't hook shot to the first.
Yes.
Signumbs setting up a bomb jump in Ice Palace.
That's gotta be a tricky one.
I think the only other option Signumbs would have to get over there right now is to mirror out and go to the right side after going past that bomb jump room, since the door is closed behind them. So Solski couldn't possibly flood that key since he had to go grab it to get into this room. On their way to those last two chests, one of which could end up just being the big key, which would mean walking back to that big chest and possibly walking back to even more disappointment.
The walk of shame. Did Solski check the very back of Swamp Palace there in the big room?
Wasn't able to go back there without that hook shot, so the only thing they could do is just move left and pick up that pot from the flood room to grab the key, open it up, fill it, and start heading left. They did go through that southern section and found some arrows. And there's an arrow upgrade, I believe.
Yep.
And without the hook shot, has to climb right back up.
Brutal.
Headphones and coffee, yes. People have all gone into pod. That's where their fire rod was. So Solski finds money, so I believe this is now confirmed to be a Master Sword pedestal suit. I believe we've seen everywhere else in the game at this point that is currently accessible without that hook shot.
Ped hype.
But we now have the chance to even see it end up being something like book on the pedestal, which means wasting even more time to go grab those tablets. It could be the shovel into the book.
It could be the shovel on Ped, which then leads to the book, which then leads to them having to go all the way around Tairr.
And considering everything Solski check going on the way, I'm pretty sure he knows this is where he's got to go.
Yeah.
So he's working his way back over to Palace of Darkness, which shouldn't be too long. Or no, I don't know if Solski checked Catfish.
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think only one person, from what I could tell, checked Catfish.
Yeah, I don't think it was hit by many, so they may be mixing in this pyramid check into Catfish and then head into Palace of Darkness, which would make more sense than not fluting over to Eastern and then taking the Dark World portal. So at this point, we're really just delaying the inevitable. So for everyone in chat who wanted this at the start, it seems like you've gotten your wish.
People have been asking for the Ped seed for quite a number of days now.
Signumbs is heading into that cold stare fight with that half magic, but running out of fire pretty quickly. Still has 2 cold stare heads to get down. Have to use that hammer or a potion. Solski headed back over to Kakariko Village, heading to the Dark World portal. I'm really not sure what is left over here for them to find. Oh, I guess the big chest in Thieves Town wasn't checked, I think. But I'm pretty sure they got all the items out of that, so it looks like Solski's heading over to the Graveyard Ledge.
I think you counted it at the very beginning and had said there was just the map that was left.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the map was the only item left in Thieves Town, so...
Lumberjack. I think Lumberjack was either just a big red or bombs.
As Ketnet just asked, yes, the only thing they're missing at this point is the hook shot for go mode, and it is almost certainly, without a doubt, blocked by the pedestal right now. It looks like Signumbs is now opting to go check out that left side of Swamp.
They do not want to full clear all these dungeons. I wonder who's gonna finally decide, so...
Looks like Solski is now going to go ahead and grab those missing pendants, having fluted over to Eastern and taken the Dark World portal.
Yep.
I wonder if some of these runners are beating themselves up, since they did find themselves in each of those pendant dungeons and close to the finish. Tower of Hera in particular would not have added a ton of time to the end goal, but I guess each runner just felt more comfortable thinking, I'd rather not take the time to do this and hope everything is elsewhere.
Yeah, usually it pays off. Today is not one of those days.
It's one of those rare chat seeds where The runners indeed have to go pull that pedestal blind.
It's almost like they just love the torture of this.
Someone did comment, somebody may have finished by now, but we are sitting at an hour, 50 minutes in, and there have been, I believe, no finishers still, just a couple of forfeits.
No, I haven't seen... No, I'm not seeing that anyone's finished yet.
Yep, there's been one forfeit and nobody has finished. So Tairr is into that Trinex fight, making quick work with that item switch plus hammer. Choosing to take out the ice head instead of the fire, though. I don't see that too often, but it makes sure that there's no particles left on the floor as the fight comes to an end.
Especially when you're fighting with the hammer. So we got Ninban and Tairr in Turtle Rock. Signumbs in Swamp Palace. Solski getting the Pedestals of Shame. Or not the Pedestals of Shame, the Pendants of Shame.
Solski with some good item switching there. Manages to get that 17th hit off, immediately switch to the silver arrows. And there... Did I just see the hook shot drop off of Helmasaur?
I can't tell if... Yeah, hook shot.
So now these runners are definitely going to be kicking themselves for not finishing
Oh boy.
these pendant items dungeons while there were still items in them.
Yes. Well, he's now go mode. Oh no, he's not. He's go mode. He's got to go and get Argus in Swamp Palace. Let's just take a moment of silence for our pet dream. Our pet dream has died with Helmasaur.
I'm surprised to see nobody opted to kill him with an item remaining. But I guess at that point they figured there were still enough places to go, because they grabbed that fire rod and that opened up Ice Palace in addition to Turtle Rock. Solski should be working through the end of the game pretty quickly here after they get back in the swamp. They'll be able to just hookshot across those two gaps and head straight to Argus. So in the meantime, we have some of these other runners going about things. It looks like Tairr may be banking on that pedestal play now and has gone back into Tower of Hera to kill Moldorm. But since they had gotten their items out of here,
Tairr might still go to the basement.
this could be an interesting play. I think the compass has to be in the basement since Moldorm will have to drop the key. But with that said, it's interesting that Tairr would choose to go finish Tower of Hera with, I believe, no items left, unless there was a basement item. when there was still a item left in Palace of Darkness to get before going to clear Tower of Hera. But I guess Tairr assumed, well, I'm right here, just exited Turtle Rock, I may as well.
Yeah, smart play for sure. Yeah.
So I think if Tairr had been anywhere else, he would have chosen not to go in and do Tower of Hera with the item still waiting in Palace of Darkness. Ninban getting the Trinex kill.
Depending on where Ninban decides to go next, they might be able to catch up to Solski. Tairr is definitely hot on their heels.
At this point, I don't think anyone on this stream can catch up with Solski, since it'll just be this and head to Ganon's Tower.
Indeed,
But
yeah.
Ninban is pretty close with Tairr. Or Tairr? As someone in the chat has informed me.
Tairr?
But Tairr will still be getting that hook shot very quickly, since they're almost down to Helmasaur King now. In the meantime, Solski finishing up that last crystal dungeon, having to use these pause menu strats to switch between the hookshot and the hammer repeatedly, with no other way to deal damage to those little puffs. Manages to hit that silver arrow on the first shot. One shot kill on Argus. Grabs a 5 rupees on the last crystal. So with that, we have our first runner heading into Ganon's Tower.
Which means we now get to check the chests in Ganon's Tower.
We're now waiting for that big key location, and the numbers are starting to come in. I see White Ar Knights as 22 tile room. Just hoping for the absolute most brutal of finishes for these runners. For those unaware, these numbers are coming in because Ganon's Tower has 22 possible locations for the big key to be, which allows them to go up to the upper levels and finish. So everybody typing these numbers is currently guessing where they think that big key is going to be to let them go ahead and finish that game. And I am seeing more tile room comments pour in. We've got a 27 with a Kipo. Seems a little unlikely. So Tairr has now killed Helmasaur King as well, gotten that hook shot, now has all of the pendants, and is still going to have to head over to Swamp Palace and grab that last crystal. Signumbs working through Turtle Rock, where we already know there isn't going to be any items to be found, only that crystal. Solski dashing up to that right side first, where there will be 2 items. Finds a key.
So that's 1.
Rupees. Choosing not to go into that right side, though, he mirrors out and starts heading to the left. Heart piece on that torch, so that's 3 items so far. While we see Ninban working on that peg cave.
Is that the red ring?
I think it was. Yes, it was.
Yep.
So that in a hard container. We're through the first 7 locations with no big key yet, but plenty of small keys. In the meantime, Tairr moves into Swamp, but leaves behind that first chest having that hookshot already. So Tairr actually managed to avoid go-moding Swamp. Or rather, checking that left side of Swamp, since Tairr is in go mode, unlike Solski, when Solski was running through there.
Ninban is just doing some final checks around Hyrule just to see if there's anything missed before realizing that they'll have to do some pedestal pendant engines.
So look like chest number 9 there in that push block room. So congratulations to whoever guessed 9, if anyone did.
All the cheese. All the cheers.
You win a hookshot and a blind pedestal pull in the next race. So Solski's now starting that Ganon Tower ascent while the rest of these runners are sort of looking to catch up. Tairr will be right on Solski's heels after killing Argus here.
Yes.
But in the meantime, Ninban is sort of scouring the overworld, trying to find that hookshot last item. We know he needs to go into the Palace of Darkness. And Signumbs finishing up Turtle Rock. So Solski gets to the start of the community named Gauntlet. A couple of heart drops. The enemies in here aren't too tough, especially with those silver arrows.
I've only seen 2 of these randomizers, Enemizers, and I've found that it seems like this gauntlet is a lot easier than the original vanilla gauntlet.
Yeah, with some of these slow Hinoxes lumbering around, it can't be too hard.
Yeah.
But we find some mini Moldorms in the ice room. But using that fire rod, Solski gets through pretty quickly. Does that mini Helmasaur and that Fireball statue giving Solski a little bit of trouble getting through there. But now Solski's into Landless. Misses that 3rd arrow to get the 1 cycle. In the meantime, Tairr finishes up Swamp Palace and will now also be heading to Ganon's Tower. Signumbs is into that Trinex fight. Choosing to go for that firehead first, but taking a ton of damage, drops down to 1 heart and has to drink that blue potion.
Fighting Trinex with a hammer must be difficult.
No, he's got the wrong rod out before switching back to the ice. Tairr coming to pull the pedestal just for chat.
Oh, of course.
And gets 20 rupees for the effort.
Thanks, pedestal. Thanks.
It was so close to being mandatory this run.
Oh man, it was so close.
We can see Solski's not having too much trouble getting through Ganon's tower, reaching Moldorm pretty quickly after starting that ascent. Now we'll just have to hit Tail with the hammer 3 times to get that kill. Thank you, Tairr, for giving the viewers what they wanted with that pedestal check, and Signumbs, it looks like, takes a death on Trinex. Gets hit in that final phase. And Ninban is heading into Swamp without the hookshot, choosing to do that left side clear. Rather than go check the rest of those pendants and hope for it to be on either Helmosaur King or the pedestal. Solski pulls out the bug net for Aghanim and dashes in for 2 hits. I believe only gets 1 that second round. Up to 4 hits of damage. But gets a double hit on the end for 5 and 6.
Perfect execution. Now, is that a special property of the bug net that you can do a dash to harm Aghanim?
I think you just asked if you could use the bug net to harm Aghanim?
Doing the dash with the bug net.
Oh.
Is that something that you can do in regular mode as well?
Yes, I believe the net always allows you to reflect the balls to Ganon, and the item dash still works on it as well. And I think it actually makes it easier to hit because you don't have to wait for the net animation to actually get there. Like, it will just always be swinging back towards Aghanim for that. Ooh, and Solski gets hugged by Ganon to death.
That is a really, really painful hug.
This fight is not exactly easy with hammers, since Solski will not be able to use the cape or anything like that if they had even found it. And that hammer has a very small hitbox that's pretty tough to use, especially while facing up like that.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure what's in Solski's inventory right now.
Pulls out a blue potion there, gets back to full health, so sort of banking on getting past this, but they are into phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a double hit from the bats there though, and chooses to use the Cane of Birna to avoid some damage. And meanwhile, Signumbs dies to Trinex again. Did not open up that back door in Turtle Rock.
That's unfortunate.
So we'll have to walk back quite a distance to get back to Trinex.
Tairr is climbing Ganon's tower now, looking for the master key. And Ninban is still in denial about the pedestals.
Solski gets into phase 3 and drinks another potion where Ganon is now warping around. Signumbs had to turn around and go farm some magic since he had ran out and was unable to use the Cane of Samaria to continue in Turtle Rock. Tairr is down at the Ice Armos. Solski gets a very quick hit on that first warp in phase 4 and lands the torch glitch, which means only the left torch will be extinguished for the rest of this fight, making things a little simpler without having to light both of those going dark.
Very good. Official time 2:11:32.
And that official time is good enough for the first place finish in the race, actually. So Solski wins among the 4 we see and wins the race. Congrats, Solski. Signum still struggling to get through Turtle Rock. In the meantime, we see Tairr had chosen to go right side and actually had the Armos Knights from there, so now gets the big key out of that chest. So Tairr will be the second one making that Ganon Tower ascent on stream. So Tairr is managing to work his way through the gauntlet pretty well, gets past that first Mimic room into the second. Ninban is heading to Helmasaur King where they will find that hookshot. And Signums isn't far behind. So we are going to go ahead and bring in Solski for a post-game interview. Hello, Solski. Congratulations on your first place finish.
Yes,
Thank you.
congrats.
That seed deserves to be in a museum. That was a lot of fun.
You found it fun to play, eh?
Well, I mean, the 56-minute hammer was a good indication.
I think the first thing I want to ask is, how do you feel about where you found that hook shot on Helmasaur King?
Not surprising, honestly,
Hello,
because
Solski.
I was
Congratulations
it
on
was
your
pretty
first
much
place
that or
finish.
pedestal at that point, and I pretty
Yes,
much
congrats.
routed probability and speed,
Hey.
and then it basically came down to that, and I was like, well, it's either here or pedestal at this point, so hopefully it's at Helma.
You found it fun
Sure
to
enough,
play,
it
eh?
was. If I did Helma when I wanted to, or if I should have, I guess I should say, I probably would have cleared sub 2 pretty
I
easy
think
on
the
this one.
first thing I want to ask is, how do you feel about where you found that hook shot on Helmasaur King?
How'd you guys enjoy it? Alright, guys, I think I fixed the echo.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I just got on with the Twitch chat.
We were pretty thrilled to watch. We thought for quite a while that it was going to be a pedestal seed because we assumed every item was found in Palace of Darkness, since we mostly saw it be done in the dark.
I knew there was an item still to be had, and I just objectively skipped it because it was a pendant and it wasn't green pendant, so I figured I might as well just take my luck elsewhere.
Were you glad to see it was not a pedestal seed, or were you hoping at that point that you would just have to go back to Hera and pull that out for the chat hype?
I was more happy that it wasn't, just because if it was, I probably would have been pretty much toast. But no, honestly, it was. I wasn't really happy with either place it could have been. So
You could sort of sense you had a strong desire to not go into that left side of swamp, and sort of confirm that you were going to have to go back to those pendant dungeons, since we saw you comb the rest of the overworld before you headed over there.
right, and that's what I mean by, like, I was looking at where it could be still. At that point, it was like, I think it was Pyramid, Quakefish, Graveyard Ledge, Helma, Pedestal, and that Swamp play. So I figured I'd do Swamp first just in case, because it's probably the least likely play everyone else does as well. And I just kind of wrote it in reverse the sequence of that, and finally hit it at the Helma again. But yeah, thank God we got silvers earlier, else that would have been a really rough seed. There are some tough dungeons in there, man.
Yeah, that was pretty rough, especially at the start. All of those deaths. I think every racer sort of took several deaths trying to get to Zora's domain and get to that ledge for those mitts.
Oh man, I could not stop laughing when the thief charged me and killed me. Well, like, one hit, 4 hearts. It was awesome. Yeah, tons of fun.
I think we're really glad to hear you actually did enjoy that, especially after that sort of really brutal, slow start.
I really like Swordless. So, like, a Swordless Enemizer was, like, really fun because I've actually never done one before. So it was really enjoyable. I'll have to do another one soon.
How many have you done now?
Swordless, dozens. Swordless Enemizers, just this one.
You want to do one again?
Oh yeah. Not tonight though. I gotta go to bed soon. So.
For sure, yeah.
Sleep calls.
And it looks like Tairr is not too far behind.
Yep, I just want to say I think you must have been the first to actually go back and get that hook shot, so everybody sort of put that play off for you to get that first place finish. So again, congratulations on picking that up. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, all things considered, it was great. Like, I mean, I pretty much hundoed the seed. It could have been way cleaner, but it was just the game plan I had going in, so.
In the meantime, we've had 2 others finish, and we're seeing Tairr sort of hone in on finishing now as well. But I believe we actually need to start preparing for another race that's following this one. I believe the last race of the night, starting in about 30 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll probably through. We might have.
So I'm not sure if we'll get a chance to interview Tairr at the end, if Tairr is willing to give us one. But good game again. I think everyone watching would be well served to go ahead and follow all of the racers who raced today. It was pretty competitive, people making a lot of the same decisions, and just finally getting to that point where somebody made the last right decision they needed. Please follow the trackers who've been working really hard, keeping us in line, figuring out what's going on, so that we could figure out what was still available for us. And again, congratulations to everyone who finished. Outside of that, I suggest not going anywhere because in about 30 minutes we'll be seeing one more race, the Key Sanity daily race for today. That should be very exciting to watch, and it should be on this Speed Gaming 1 channel rather than Speed Gaming 2, so twitch.tv/speedgaming to check out that last race. I hope everyone watched, enjoyed the stream, and enjoyed seeing that possible Master Sword hype.
It was so close.
And I hope everyone who watched has an excellent night. Thank you.